Okay, I think I'm back and alive. Hello, hello. It's Bradley McAllister, founder of Spiracraft, finally returning to a Spiracraft live session. Short notice, not a lot of fanfare here today, just because I hadn't had it on in a long time, and of course, I got a million things still to do to it, but I am happy to be back out here. Let's see who's popping in here. Lord Ann's in here. Good afternoon. Michael, hey, Michael. Good to see you. How do you guys like the new hairstyle? It's not my idea. I'll tell you the story about it. So it looks like, let me know that the sound is working and all that good stuff, because like I say, it's been a long time since I've turned anything on. I've got a monitor showing me Facebook over here, and the image looks okay. I'm looking at my other monitor up top through vMix, and it shows things are looking fine. My controller is set up over here. So mostly I'm worried about the audio. Can hear and see fine. All right, thank you, Ted. Oh, messed up my stuff here. Gosh, it's been, God, 3 months, 4 months, God, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been back out here. Summer was kind of crazy. Hey, Frank, thank you. I'm glad it sounds good. Hey, Rich, did you reach out to that fellow today yet? I'm hoping there's no echo. You may have seen a post yesterday that I've been putting sound absorbing panels, which luckily you can't see in any of the shots right now, but I have rows of sound absorbing panels on the ceiling. That front wall, some on the edges of the side walls. Let's see, just got off the phone about 15 minutes ago. Michael says everything is good. Great. So these little foam panels, they weren't really all that expensive, and I need to get some more, about, I don't know, 36 to 39 of gray and of black, because you know I've got the gray walls. Here's the thing I discovered about trying to get rid of the echo in this room. This wall back here, which looks like it is wood, is not. It's drywall, and it's green for the green screen. And so that wall is really live, and there's nothing I can much do about that. But since I talk out this direction, that wall has got a lot of panels on it. The ceiling does. And one of the things that, other than just my voice bouncing, I'm hoping that it will take and cut down some of the extra machine noise or sanding noise. We'll find out how that goes. Let me see what's going on over here. And this thing should be automatically scrolling down. So great, Mike says everything is good. All right, so here's the story with this haircut. I'm not going into the service. I'm 62. I'm not going into the service. Last week now, it's been over a week, I went in to get my usual haircut at Great Clips. Got the same stylist that I've had several times, and one who had cut my hair the last time. And I don't know what she did or what the deal was, but she decided that day that I was Chad and not Brad. And Chad's little cue card has a certain setting for the clippers, electric clippers, which he just gets his hair mowed like this. And so I plopped down in the chair, took my glasses off, and she said, okay, the same as usual. I said, yes, of course, you know. And she grabbed the electric trimmers, and now she does that on occasion to thin my hair so it controls a little bit better and things like that. So I didn't at first think anything of it. And before I could say much else, she had taken the trimmers set on super low and cut a trail through one side of my head from the front towards the back. And about 2 inches wide, the big clippers, and about 3 inches long, before I started screaming and hollering, what in the world are you doing? And she said, oh, well, Chad, this is what you always get. And I said, well, I'm not Chad, I'm Bradley. And what are we going to do here? I said, that's, you use scissors on me. And I said, so now you've cut a 2-inch stripe through my head, and you can't glue that back on. And she said, oh, I can fix it. I can fix it. I said, you can't fix this. She said, well, I'll blend it in. I'll blend it in. I said, this isn't going to blend in. You've cut my hair down to 1/8 of an inch long on the top of my head. everywhere on the front. So she said, well, I'll fix it. And she made all these apologies. And she said, but the only way I can fix it is to blend it all to the same length. So she went ahead and proceeded to just take and mow all my hair off. And if you were to see the back of my head, and if I happened to turn around today, I was fairly irate. I didn't make a scene. I said, just cut it. And she says, well, you won't have to pay for it. Excuse me. And I said, yeah, you got that right. And she just mowed it all off. In the back, you can see my scalp back there. It's pretty short. Yes, it'll grow back. But no, I haven't joined a cult. And I'm not going into service or anything else. Turn around. Rich, I knew you would ask that, or somebody would. But I don't think I'm going to go there. If it happens, it happens. Anyway, I was not pleased. I'm still not pleased. And when I was out here actually testing the system last night, and I saw the back of my head, I went, oh my God, it's pretty short. Like it's gone. And Bridget even said, well, I haven't actually bothered to tell you how short the back is. So anyway, couple of weeks, it'll be back to where it's supposed to be, kind of, sort of. And they owe me a couple of free haircuts, I think, for the next 2 or 3 visits at least. So, you know, at the end of the day, it was kind of funny. Private McAllister, yes, yes. So anyway, that's the deal there. So it makes my forehead shine. Of course, it's, you know, I have oily skin and it does that anyway. But that's my story with my hair, and I'm going to leave that alone. My gosh, what have I been doing? Let's see. We went to the AAW Symposium in June, and then I believe I jumped in here one time after that. Then I got sick for a while in the summer and had some recovery time, and then I had to go to SWAT. So I went down to SWAT in Texas, had a great time. Spiracraft had a wonderful show, and the folks at SWAT were really good, and they always are. Can't wait to go back. And it wasn't super hot. It was like only in the 80s when I got there. I came back from SWAT and had a month before I went to the Mid-Atlantic Woodturning Symposium just last month, the end of September. So I went up to Pennsylvania, and I was gone about 10 days for that. Another good show. And then I went over to the Poconos for a couple days, visited with the truck driver from the woodworking shows, my buddy Dino, and we hung out and toured around, and that just took a couple of days to take a break. Then I came on home and got everything slowly unpacked and sorted and all that, and I'm just now getting things back in order from three shows and essentially 3 months of travel with some other downtime. So ready to get the Spiracraft Live going. All the fancy presets and everything, that it's not done yet, but we'll work on it. We'll take it one step at a time and go from there. So today I'm keeping it simple, just because again I didn't announce this one. I wanted to make sure everything was working and it's all good. And of course the phone blew up and email blew up, and DHL didn't deliver yesterday, and it took me an hour and a half to deal with them this morning. So keeping it simple, we're going to do some sanding on resin. So you can see over here, it's kind of funny as I watch the piece, I've got this resin piece that we turned a long time ago. And it's one, if you remember when I was doing, around Christmas time, I was doing these Christmas bowls with spin gems, okay? And I'll stick that right there. So this, what I have already mounted is one of these guys, and I thought about turning this, and then I decided, well, that's just more complicated in time turning, and we'll just stick with the sanding for today. And I have all the sandpaper laid out here, and if I had all my buttons set up super fancy, I could have the camera jump over there and show you the INDASA sandpaper. This is the sandpaper that Spiracraft carries, and it comes in 2 grades. It comes in the red line, which is their premium paper, and it comes in the white line, which is also same type of style paper, except it's more of an economy grade. And what makes this paper special is that it has a more uniform scratch pattern than most any other sandpaper that's available on the market. And the other thing that's nice about this, and I'm going to go through them all today just for the fun of it. In the red line, there are 17 different grades, from 40 grit to 1200 grit. Some of the grits you don't normally buy because they're not available, but I've got 17 grades of paper here. I've got my little stack out. We sell them in 10 packs, 25 packs, and 50-pack boxes, and I'm also going to make up a variety pack, if you will. Like say probably 2 of each grit or 2 of the most popular grits. I haven't quite decided yet where I'm going to go on that, but that's the plan there. So with this piece that I have here, and I'm going to switch things around here, and we're going to jump to program on that, and we'll jump to maybe overhead for that. So this piece is not all that bad. It's actually fairly smooth. If you look right here, you can see where the light's in, you can see some of the tool marks. It's actually pretty smooth in here, but you can't see them just because of the light. This is Spiracraft Spin Gems, and that's actually supposed to be a Christmas tree right there. That was the concept. And the backside, I'm set up to turn it around and do the backside, flip it around if we have time. But what I want to do is I'm going to take and actually make this worse. I wanted to start at the lowest or the coarsest grit and the 40 grit and go from there. And so we're going to start with the most coarse and take her down, so it will become completely dull. Go back up here for a sec. It will become completely dull and white again, and then we'll work our way up through the grits. And as far as the finish, if you wonder, well, what kind of finish are we going to do to it today? We have 2 options. I have the Yorkshire grit and Hampshire sheen, Yorkshire grit micro and regular. I don't have the Hampshire sheen, that's wax. Which, if you haven't seen the buzz around, Easywood Tools bought Yorkshire grit, the company, and that makes it available to all of the Easywood Tools dealers, which Spiracraft is one. We have it on order, supposed to be in the end of the month. So we'll be able to get Yorkshire grit through Spiracraft, along with the other Easywood tool retailers, which is pretty cool. So we could put that finish on for the last finish. I could do spray lacquer. I have a can of lacquer sitting here, which is also one of my favorites. And I don't have it set up because I just didn't have time. I also have a 3M product that I'd like to use as a final polishing system, a 3-grit polishing system. After you've gone to 1200, 1500, then you can polish it and get a nice sheen out of it as well. So today, probably just due to time, I'm going to use just the Yorkshire grit finish at that. Now, if I have time and you guys are still hanging in tight, well, then we might go ahead and turn around and sand the back. Because this paper lasts a long time. That's the other beauty of INDASA. It outlasts the other less expensive, I'll say lesser quality papers. It's not like super cheap, but it lasts a whole lot longer. So each time I go through the grit, it will be a long way from worn out. So we can do the backside time permitting, and I'll watch and see how the time goes. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat column. It looks like Facebook and YouTube are both working in my chat column there. So as long as it doesn't go too fast in the scroll and I don't miss anything, and if you ask a question and it seems like I have missed it, feel free to ask it again. That's okay. I don't mind if it, because I might not see it. I don't have anybody monitoring just yet, but we are working on that for future endeavors. Okay. So that being said, oh, and also I have, which are not in the store yet on the website, are sanding disc, and I have a 2-inch sanding disc, polyurethane sanding disc. I'll pop that in the overhead. We have a urethane 2-inch sanding disc now, Velcro, with a intermediate pad that Spiracraft has, and we just haven't got it, we being me, of course, onto the website. They're not expensive, and so that's what I'll also be using today to do the sanding. Up here to 7. There we go. And so this is what we're working with. I'm also working with a cordless drill today. Got the batteries charged. My electric one is not functioning. I plugged it in this morning and it wasn't working. So I said, well, we'll just go with cordless, and we've got a couple of batteries. So we should be good to go. So I'm going to start with the 40 grit. Yes, you know, you don't normally need 40 grit. Okay. Let's see. Overhead is good and front's good. We got a little shimmer there in that camera. That's interesting. It's trying to figure out what it wants to do. So I'm going to actually take away this, what smooth finish we have here. Pop this on here. And hopefully that's not too loud. I am going to put this in reverse, just because I like to sand in reverse. I'll go back and forth. I'll keep the speed slow. This lathe, if I'm lucky, will go down to about 100. There's 95. So we'll leave it right there at 95. Oh, and I should say, let me pop back up here real quick. In the not too distant future, this old Colt lathe I've had, which has been a good lathe for me, is being replaced with the new Nova Nebula. The Nebula is an 18-inch lathe from Nova Technitool. It will be, I've got ones ordered on the first shipment coming in November, December. And when that gets shipped up here, I'm switching over to the new Nebula. So there will be a new lathe out here in the Spiracraft shop. And I have others available. If you want to get on the list early to get one pre-ordered, jump onto the website and put in your order. If you have questions about the Nebula, pop me an email, shoot me a phone call on the number on the website. Be happy to talk to you about it. Okay, that's just a quick little thing to let you know. All right, let's start making some resin dust here. And again, this is a dry, completely dry sanding. We're not doing any wet sanding whatsoever. All right, let's go up here to that one. Should be in the right place. Rich says Nebula. He's got his symbols. So we're gonna buzz this guy down. And as I start, if you can see, I've got it zoomed in pretty close. I didn't want to get too much tighter. You can see where it is sanding and not sanding, because this rim does roll over a little bit. And 40 grit is pretty coarse. So if I wanted to shape something, I would certainly be able to use the 40 grit for that. And I'm just going to work my way with each grit, and I want to make this thing nice and flat. And so as I get going, you can see some of the tool marks pop up there. You can see these ridges right here, just a little bit, and some of it's pattern. So don't be confused between the pattern and the ridges from the turning. And I turned this with an Easy Wood tool, -8 cutters. Now the secret to sanding is that you want to get all of the previous grit scratches out before you move on to the next grit. And again, with 17 grits here, I'm not going to spend a long time, but I do want to get, and I can see that these tool marks in the center here are coming out, starting to come out. All right. I mean, again, this is pretty coarse with the 40 grit on here. All right. I could have started a lot less aggressively, but I wanted to make sure this thing was completely flat, nice and smooth. Now the one thing I was planning to do was get some denatured alcohol in here so that I could wipe it down for you from time to time. You can see I still have a little bit of a low spot right in through here. All right, I'd like to get that out of there. I want my scratches to be uniform. I want the whole piece to be at the same level. Bradley needs to do some inlay work with Mike's stuff. Love inlay work. Love inlay. And I actually have Mike's inlay. We actually sell it. Spiracraft carries it. I just don't have anything with it in here right now. Let's get rid of this one little groove right here. So you see, if you really want to get it flat, I mean, again, this 40 grit is pretty aggressive. But now I have that little line that was there is now gone. Now, granted, I have 40 grit scratches in this guy now, okay? But that means that everything is a uniform height. Now, I've got a little bit of highlight here on this edge that I want to take down since we're here. I'd like to say it warped, but resin doesn't really move. So that takes care of that. And we'll come up here on the rim. There's a little tool mark on the rim. And again, when you want the finest finish on whether it be wood or resin, you want to make sure that everything is completely flat and smooth. Smooth being a relative term at this stage using 40 grit paper. Okay, but we now have a uniform finish all in 40 grit scratches. Okay. Again, I wish I had brought my denatured alcohol in here. Or naphtha is also a good one. And you can see this paper obviously is still in great shape. And so I'm going to reverse my stack over there in case we get to the back side. Now that I've got it flat, 3, he says 3, go 3, there we go. Now that I have it flat, smoothed out, all the big ridges or troughs, gouges are gone. You don't have to spend as long. All you're really doing is cutting down through those previous scratches, and we're just going to remove each scratch. And again, one of the best things about this paper is that its scratch pattern is more uniform than most, than the inexpensive things that you can get. It's got a much more uniform scratch pattern. And so when we're all done, this guy, you're not going to have that random one grain scratch line somewhere that you get that's really hard to deal with sometimes. And that's what the naphtha is really good about. With the naphtha or denatured alcohol, you can look for that one scratch, and you have to go back to whatever that grit was or the grit just before it and take that one scratch out. All right, so back up here to the end camera. And that was 40, this is 60. And like I say, hopefully that drill's not too loud. It's pretty quiet. Now, to keep in my standard fashion, I've never actually dry sanded any resin with all these papers before. You guys know how I love to do things the first time, right in front of you live. I'd like to be just like you're in your shop if you were trying something for the first time. I like to do the same thing. I do have a dust collector that I brought back from the Colorado shop, which I will be hooking up, and it'll sit right over here. I didn't get that far yet with so many things. So this is coming down. Now you can still see some of the 40 grit scratches right in here. So I need to spend a little bit more time. Again, this is 60, so it's nothing smooth either by any stretch of the imagination. And it doesn't hurt. You can reverse your direction if you want to take care of, if things are making a swirl in a certain way, changing direction on your lathe will help take care of that. I'm glad this is epoxy and not polyester. It would stink to high heaven if it was polyester. Okay, and you don't have to spin it. You can hold it still and maybe just turn it by hand if you want to as well. I do tend to like to let the machine do the turning. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. It's just more convenient. All right. A little bit more still right up here in the top corner. These corners, the edges are a little tough to get to. Spend a little bit more time there. Okay, so that was 60 grit. We'll move along to 80. You know, soon we'll be up into something that you would normally actually be working with. And of course, it always pays to do the best you can with the tools to save yourself the extra sanding. Looks like there's a little freeze on Facebook there going on. You can see how much material we're removing with the dust that's coming off. Now I am with the spin gems. I am starting to get a little bit of polyester smell because they are polyester. My Christmas tree is looking more like a Christmas tree with the little white ornaments on it as I cut down through here some. One more quick hit. Okay, and we'll just move right on into the next grit. Hey, Joe made it. How you doing, Joe? So this grit is 100. We're actually starting to approach somewhere that you might have normally started instead of starting with the 40, which I did just for the purpose of demonstration. You can see we're getting a wonderful pink powder here, in case you need that. You could save that and use it in another casting. Again, the beauty of this piece, and starting with the coarser grits, yes, it's more work, but we know that it's perfectly flat. And if I were to do my favorite lacquer finish on here, when we get done with all the grits, it would be a fantastic finish on here. Say, I sure wish I had the alcohol in here. I'm going to look here real quick over in the infamous toolbox and see if I just happen to have some floating around. If my van was unlocked, I'd grab some out of it, but I know it's locked. So I'm over here in the toolbox looking for. Here's a little lapping fluid. I don't know if that's got it's probably a little oily. I'm going to feel this on my fingers. Yeah, that's a little oily. Not something that would just evaporate. This will work. If you can't read the can, don't ask me what this is. So you can see we don't have any tool marks whatsoever in here now. Going through the grits took all that out of there. We'll save that mystery highlighter. And this, the sanding pad, the polyurethane pad, it has a little flex to it itself. All right. And again, if we want to, so I have a little loading on the paper, you can see here, but that actually brushes off. Because I was leaning on that edge pretty hard. Sort of like watching something cook in the microwave. Yeah, nobody wants to watch somebody sand. I thought about that, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to sit out here and sand for an hour. Because what a good test after not being on for a couple of months to make sure that the system is working. And we'll find out who the true loyal followers are, those who hang around long enough. I've seen the numbers is dropping, and I wouldn't hang around a long time to watch somebody sand either. But you can watch it in fast forward over on YouTube tonight. But I'd rather you hang around with me. I don't want to be lonely out here. At least there's movement in the resin dust falling off, Joe. It's not like watching paint dry. Whereas paint dries, nothing, you don't see anything happening. At least here we have dust coming off, so we know that there is an activity taking place. All right, that's coming along pretty nice. A little bit right up here in this corner on this. I think I'm on 100 grit now. I'm on 120 as a matter of fact. Like I say, you can tell that we're actually moving a good bit of material off of the piece. So we're cutting down through there nicely and getting everything nice and flat. And this is 150 grit. That's one of the nice things about the INDASA line. We have some odd, not grits that you don't normally see. We have, 120, 180, but then we have 150, and we have 220, and I believe we have 240. We have 280, we have 220, 240, 280, and then with 320, 400, 500, 600. But we have some nice intermediate grits that if you're really working on a piece that's, especially in a wood piece, where you want the finest finish you can get and you want to make sure you've gotten it just as smooth as it possibly can be and not have any of those extra scratches in it that can ruin a piece. There's nothing worse than having a piece finished and you think it's all done and you don't notice, and in the very end you see one little sanding scratch in it somewhere and you're getting ready to take it to a gallery. That happened to me. I had a piece that I was getting ready to take to a gallery and it wasn't so much a sanding scratch, it was a fleck of dust way down in the layers of lacquer, and I was not happy. So this is feeling pretty good. One more quick round with the 150. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now, one thing I will say is, I don't know if you see the dust moving. I'll put my finger right over here. I do have a fan on, which is blowing the dust away from me right now. So that's good. I don't have a respirator on. If I was to do this all day long, I would wear a respirator. But it's so hard to talk and have you hear with the respirator, but I do recommend it. But when we do that, then we sound all muffled like this, and it's really hard to hear us. So it's a little tough to do that. This is this one is not stamped. 180. So we're up to 180. This will be one nice, smooth, flat piece of resin. So we can take our examining spray, spray on there and see if we're seeing anything that shows up in the glossiness of it as far as scratches, anything like that. And that is looking nice and smooth and flat. We'll keep right on moving through the grits. Come around the edge here just a little bit. Clean that up. Again, you know your paper's cutting when you see the powder coming off. When the powder stops, you know your paper's not cutting anymore. Okay. Well, it's feeling smoother and smoother all the time here. Keep going up the grit scale. Looks like we're up at 220 right now. So we're just starting to get into the finer grits now. Again, those early grits were more for shaping. And if this was a piece of wood, You know, we talk about carving. Well, if you don't have carving tools, but you wanted to shape a piece of wood, I'm gonna jump up here real quick. You can actually use, I know it sounds crazy, or you might not subscribe to it, but hey, you can shape a piece of wood with 40 grit sandpaper, especially if it's soft. But aspen, I used to turn a lot of aspen when I was in Colorado, and I would do a lot of shaping with 40, 60 grit. I mean, I just changed the shape of a piece, especially in oblong, oval bowls that I turned green, natural edge, and then I would take the tenon off, and I would have this kind of goofy foot area that was warped and dried, and I would take some 40 or 60, and I would shape that whole foot area with the piece, and then just work my way up through the grits. And so I would have this really cool base, and the only way to get it was to shape it without, as I didn't have any carving stuff. I do now, I haven't used it yet, but I did find the bits finally. But you can shape with a coarse sandpaper. It's just a different form of carving. It's just carving with sandpaper. So there's always a lot of different ways to get to where you're going. And we'll jump back up here to 7. There we go. And continue with the 220 here real quick. I may try and keep this to an hour today. I see it's 1:42 here Eastern time. Just because it's sanding, it's not the most exciting thing. And I don't think you really want to see me sand the other side. It is feeling really nice. Again, you know, this is, if you were working with, I know in the pen world, you know, you're pretty smooth and you can wet sand them. This is, and the reason I chose a bowl, this is kind of a little bit more particular to a bowl, if you will, or the bowl shapes or the bigger resin pieces, because a lot of the systems for polishing a pen, they're really quick, but you're also doing, you know, something that's the size of your finger. You're not covering large areas of material, even though this bowl is only like, say, 6 inches. If you've made some bigger resin pieces and you've got a lot of work to do, you need a system that's going to allow you to do that whole big piece in an efficient fashion. And it's going to be a lot better with the dry papers. And then you may finish it up with the polisher at the end. But because of so much surface area and so much area to cover, using a dry system is a good way to go, especially when the piece is big. You've got more tool marks. You don't have that many tool marks, say, in a pen or a finial, something like that. But when you've got a resin type piece, or wood and resin, if it's a hybrid, you've got much more tool marks there, because just by nature of the size of the piece. So using a dry system to get you to a nice smooth piece is quite advantageous. There we go, 7. I don't know why there's a delay in the controller. Might be my Wi-Fi. I had to bring another router out here so that I could run the controller panel there on Wi-Fi without having to have another wire to trip over. That was part of the changing of the shop studio, was to get rid of some of the wires or get them all overhead. So now all the wires are overhead. There are no wires on the floor other than power cords. And again, you see me every so often, I'm switching directions of the lathe, just to make sure I'm not building setting a pattern. Of any kind of grooves with the paper going any particular direction. That is smooth. Smooth. All right, we'll just keep right on moving along here. I really want to turn this piece I can't wait to get into this guy and turn this one and see how my Christmas tree works out. I may just have to do that pretty soon. As soon as I have power over in the other shop, the newer shop, the workshop, not the studio, it's an actual workshop where I'll have lathes set up in their multiples. I can go over there and make a mess and not worry about making a mess in here. So as we get into the finer and finer grits, we don't have to spend as long because the scratches are smaller by nature. You want to be sure that you've done it adequately. But we're not shaping anymore. All we're really doing now is removing the scratches from the previous grit. That's really what these final steps are about. It's just removing the scratches from the previous grit. We've done our shaping, we've done our cleaning. We've made it flat and smooth. Oh, so nice and smooth. Okay. So we could speed up the process a little bit as we go. Now again, if I had my alcohol in here, I would be using it more frequently than this other mystery product that I'm spraying on here today. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can guess or try to guess. If you guess it right, I'll say yes. But I would wipe this down regularly with an alcohol rag just to make sure that I'm not missing a grit scratch. Watching the powder come off, I think we're doing pretty good. We shouldn't have any trouble. Again, a quick direction switch. Nope, it's not lacquer, Michael. Because I'd have to wait for that to dry and sand it away. It's not naphtha and it's not alcohol. Oh, that is so smooth. I actually haven't sanded anything to a finish in a long, long time. Kind of fun. I got boxes and boxes of stuff that is waiting. So 600, 500. This is 400 grit we're at now. Let's change directions. I want to get up on that edge there with the 400. Oh yes. Now 500 is next. That's another unique. You don't often find 500 grit paper available in wood turning supply. It's an intermediate. But the closer to the previous grit, the better finish you're going to have by using the more grits that you use along your way, the better finish you're going to have overall. And again, especially if you want a piece to be really nice, you're going to be sure that those previous grit sand marks are gone. If you make too big a step between your grits, you're going to have sand marks left in your finished piece. And there's nothing worse than walking into a gallery and seeing your piece under the lights and this big giant scratch at least in my mind, I've been to the movie, is glaring at you, something that you missed in your sanding protocol. So having the intermediate grits really does make a big difference. Okay? All right. And we're going to keep right on moving through the grits here. I'll get this one off of here. They call it Rhino Grip. This paper does really grip very, very well. Rhino Grip, and it is a latex back paper, so it's very flexible and forgiving. It doesn't crack. That's what I say. It's a premium grade of paper, very flexible, good Velcro. The grip itself is very strong, hence the name Rhino Grip. All right, here we are going into 600. This will always be the area that you miss something, right? It's easy to catch the flats, it's easy to catch the top, but this corner, as you roll that in that profile, that's the one you're going to miss something in. So you want to be sure every so often to make sure you spend a little extra time there and that you've gotten all of your previous grit marks out of that. All right. Now there is some puck marks in the resin. There's some. This was not put in a pressure pot, I don't believe. I think I just left it out. So it has a few voids in it, which you could fill with CA glue or something like that if you wanted to. So we're at 800 grit now. Then we have 1012. And we'll be done with our sanding project on here. Now, I'm not sure how many folks are actually watching, but I'll take votes, if you will. Would you rather see get a lacquer finish or a Yorkshire grit microfine finish? Polish it or lacquer it? I'll go either way. Change my direction again. Get up on that edge. You can see as we've gone to the finer grits, there's very little powder coming off now. Joe says he votes for Rich says epoxy finish. Rich, that wasn't one of the options. Okay, I didn't give you epoxy as an option. But Joe says polish. Rich, you would want epoxy. All right, now we'll jump up to 1,000 and then 1,200. So Rich, since you're trying to get 2 votes in because you're on YouTube and Facebook? Brother, you got too much bandwidth at work. Mike, right, Mike? He's double dipping, yeah. course, it makes my count numbers look better. So, Rich, you can come in from all the platforms you want. This is 1,000. And then we'll finish up with 1,200. And you can see it's not shiny, but it's almost a polished finish just because of the paper grit. All right, I'm wiping the dust off, and you can see how smooth this is. I mean, that almost looks like it's starting to get its own sheen. It's very, very, very smooth. Phenomenally smooth, I may say. Again, I don't know if that'll focus. I take my hand away, we'll see if that'll focus. It looks different on the Facebook feed than it does in the software feed as far as clarity from the camera. One more quick hit with the 1,000, then we'll hit it with the 1,200. Now what I can do, or try to do when this is all done, I can try, if it doesn't create havoc with the other cameras, and zoom in super close with this end camera. So that you can see just what it looks like right at the surface, not the overall picture, but right on the surface. The end camera and the overhead, which you're not really seeing anything in the overhead, it's just seeing me working there. These are the new PTZ cameras, which do have great resolution and a really clear picture. The problem I have is that one controller, they're not dedicated, the controllers aren't dedicated to a particular unit. Hit the speed button there too. I'm gonna slow that back down, and so it changes all the cameras. Sometimes if I don't point it real close to just one camera. Whoever's blowing up my phone, you'll have to wait. I'm busy sanding resin. Okay, so let me get a paper towel here. Paper towels here. And I'm just going to wipe off the dust. So this is there's no polish, no finish, or anything on here. Okay? Just an ultra smooth, flat finish. All right, so let me see if I can do this without causing havoc to the other cameras. And if I get it right. I may get it wrong. That's why we're having a test day. So I'll get up right close to the camera here. See if I can get it to. Of course, the battery's probably dead in this guy. That's what I get for. For doing that. Not doing this in so long. I have another one. I could go into the control room and do it, but that would take too much. Let's see if this one will do it. There we go. And that is apparently zoomed all the way in. Question is, will it come into focus in Facebook? Because I think I locked the focus earlier. It's interesting. It's relatively clear in the software, but it's not clear on my Facebook feed. So we'll go back out there. So much for that idea. But it is ultra smooth. So we will go ahead and polish it with the Yorkshire grit here real quick. But like I say, you can see just how smooth. I mean, it's virtually shiny without having put any polish to it. So because we worked our way through 17 grits of sandpaper, we have a very flat and smooth piece. Now, I'll use the regular abrasive paste, Yorkshire grit, and then I'll go to the microfine. Okay. And I always like to rub it on first. Now it's going to fill those little cavities in there. I would have blown those out, cleaned them out, and filled them with CA glue and then cut that back. Probably with, say, back at the 800 grit level, something like that. So this is the regular Yorkshire grit, the brown, and then we'll switch over. And you can see we're cutting away some of the powder that was left on there. All right, and I'm going to take that excess off with another paper towel. That way you'll also be able to see what it's like at that stage. This is one smooth piece of resin. All right. And then we'll hit it with the microfine. If you, again, this is a great way to go if you don't want a film finish. Now, there are some products in the pen turning world that will give you a super, super high finish. Personally, I'm not a pen turner. I don't have any of those products. My favorite finish is still lacquer. For larger products, projects especially. So if I want something super smooth, I'll work in lacquer, lots of lacquer, something on the order of 30 coats, 5 coats a day for a week, let that dry for a month, cut it back after the first 5 coats, cut it back after the second day, and then I don't cut it back anymore. Let that cure for a month and shrink. If it looks like anything shrunk and needs to be cut back, I'll cut it back then with 220. And then another 30 coats of lacquer. So a wood piece will end up with 60 coats of lacquer on it. And it'll look about a mile deep, and it'll be smooth, smooth, smooth. So I'm turning about 375 right now at this. And then I'll turn it up here. About 750. Now, if I had some remover, I would actually take this back off. It'd be fun, and spray lacquer on there. Lacquer, is, because it's a film finish, you get a build out of it, which makes it just look super deep instantly. But there's maintenance. This would be a no maintenance. There's no maintenance to using. If you use the Yorkshire Grip product, there is no maintenance to the finish because there is no finish. It's just nice, smooth resin or wood if you don't put a wax on it. And that feels so smooth underneath the paper towel. And now you can see the glitter. Hopefully you can see the glitter in there. And I'll take another clean paper towel just to take off any more excess and finish the polish on that. And looking at the time, we are just over 2 o'clock. So we'll probably wrap this up in a minute. But I think that was a successful sanding operation. And again, what I really wanted you to see was going through the different, especially the 17 grits change. There we go. And what a great job it does, you know, getting through using all the intermediate grits really makes a difference. And let's see if I go to 7 on that little guy right there. We'll stick that in there. So if any of y'all, I only see how many people are on Facebook. I don't have a YouTube monitor up. If you have any questions, now is the time to pop them up in the column, because we're going to wrap this up here real quick. Just kind of polishing that some more with the clean paper towel. I was just getting the dust off the back there. Always use a paper towel, because if it was to get caught, it will tear. Don't use an old t-shirt or anything like that. All right, so that guy is done. Throwing stuff around the shop here. And I know the front camera is on autofocus. And so I will try and come up to the front camera here, and we'll see how close a shot we can get. Oh, we got green in the middle. So that kind of throws off anywhere that's green on the piece is the key is doing its thing. So as I rotate that around, you're seeing some ceiling lights and all. But that is a perfectly smooth piece. There's not a sand, scratch, grit, scratch one in that. I know we're looking through at the wall at the same time, which is kind of cool in its own unique way. But the only undulation, if there was anything, is the from the spin gems. But that's pretty dang flat. And what happens is the spin gems are polyester and the epoxy is not. So let me get no matter what I do, that's gonna key that green out of there. They sand at a different rate because they're two dissimilar products. But in all, the great finish there. And I know the overhead is not zoomed in real close, but I'll give you another shot of it in the overhead. And the overhead doesn't have the key on it, so you can see the green Christmas tree. Let me turn it so the Christmas tree's upright. That's an abstract Christmas tree. Always trying to go upside down and backwards. And you can see that light beam on it, but that would show any scratch marks or any ridges or anything, and all that is gone. All right, let's take a quick look here at the comment column. How to magically turn green resin into clear resin, yeah, on the next Spiracraft. Exactly, Rich. That's the clearest resin ever. And the ironic thing, just for yucks, is that, of course, the Spiracraft resin is not a water clear resin. It has a little bit of an amber tint to it. And you can see I didn't get too dirty today doing that. But again, there's our piece. Pretty cool. There's only green on the green screen here. Thank you, Michael. I mean, I had a ball. This piece it's ready for Christmas candy and all that good stuff. Again, if you came in late, we were working with the INDASA red line sandpaper that Spiracraft has. And we went through all 17 grits from 40 grit up through 1200 to sand this piece of resin. And then we did a quick Yorkshire grit, microfine polish finish on it. And that was the wrap for that. So good deal. I had fun out here today. It's good to be back. We'll continue to work on the system and getting the camera to where I can punch more buttons and have them zoom in and out and all that preset stuff, all the tech wizzo, working on new intro video, which it's on the computer in the office, partway done, but I didn't get there. So as we go on, I'm not going anywhere now for months, as far as I can tell. So I'll be out here every week that I'm around. Might be a couple of times in the fall we slip off. We're into winter. I think Thanksgiving, of course, it's on a Thursday, so there won't be a Spiracraft on Thanksgiving. But otherwise, I plan to be out here every week. I will make more of an announcement in the coming weeks. Now, today I just wanted to get out here, kept it nice and low key. No big deal in case the thing blew up and crashed after a couple of months off. So we just kept it low key today. Again, share this, let folks know it's on YouTube or on Facebook. If they want to check out sanding the resin, dry sanding the resin with the INDASA paper and putting the finish on it with the Yorkshire grit. I had fun, and I hope you guys did too. And since I don't have my fun way to leave this, I am just going to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick this back in here real quick. I'm going to work on a button that kills the show in the controller over here. Just haven't got there yet. I'll be able to just punch a button and end the feed without having to walk off camera and all that stuff. So we're just going to pump it up onto, where's my notepad? 7, right there. Give you another shot, end shot. Come on, change. Now would be good. At least it waited to the end to not cooperate. There we go. All right, gang. Thank you very much. I will see you next week. I had a wonderful time, and I hope you did too. Appreciate you coming and hanging out with me here at Spiracraft Live. It's always a pleasure, and it's always interesting to see what's happening out here. And I'm actually looking at this now on a computer screen up close, and that looks pretty good. Alrighty, gang. I'm going to turn these feeds off. Thank you very much, and have a great week. And no, I was going to say I'll be here tonight, but I'm sitting here and I just realized that the audio for the Google Meets is not installed here. There's the shelf and there's the receiver on the floor. So next week, let's try for Thursday night after the fact with our Thursday night meeting like we used to do, and I plan to get it back in here. Just won't get to it today. Did I find my blades, Michael? No, I did not find my blades, but a replacement set is supposedly being delivered tomorrow. I don't know where they went. Mystery, but oh well. All right, gang, thank you much, and we will see you all next week.